The giant said to the small people in the car, "There's a line there, don't cross over that line or you'll be destroyed." But the cars didn't believe him. They took off and said, "We don't fear that giant." But the first car got smashed to bits. You would think the second car would say, "I'm afraid of that giant." But he went over the line too, thinking, we'll get away with it. But no, the giant smashed the second car. Well, the third car was driving along too. They were all happy, forgetting about the giant, going the opposite direction, not obeying, when suddenly they thought, "Oh no, we're in trouble." They turned around and the giant was there with a hammer. They said, "No, please, please don't destroy us, forgive us." And the giant forgave them. Jesus said, "Do not be afraid." But he also said, "Be innocent like doves and wise as serpents," so to be careful. Now, so when we've got to deal with things in the world, things that are tough and hard, we're going to be fearless and careful. As Jesus said, "Don't be afraid of the one who can destroy the body only, but fear him who destroys both body and soul in hell." That means above this, what brings it together, and we've been looking at that, there is something that brings it together, isn't there? And I've got the answer over here. What's the answer?
Fear God.
To fear God. To fear God. Deuteronomy 6:24. So the Lord commanded us to observe all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, for our good always, for our survival. To fear God. But you think, fearing God, you say, well, if I fear God, then I'm not going to like being near God. I want to run away. But it's actually the very opposite. What it means is to fear God means you go and take your security in God. But you do have to fear him. If you've been a naughty person, what do you have to admit to God? That you've done bad things. You've got to be very ashamed of yourself. And you've got to put your head down and be very scared and say, "I've done what is wrong, I'm deserving of a punishment." And you want to run away. But it's better to face God and say, "Sorry, God, please forgive me." And ask for his forgiveness and strength. If we go to the Proverbs tell us three important things there about fear God. The first one is Proverbs 1, verse 7. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." So, to start off with a good relationship with God, you have to fear him. Then later, it speaks of fearing God makes you walk in the right way. It says there in Proverbs 4:27, "Don't go to the left or to the right." If you fear God, you're going to stay fearless and careful. But if you don't fear God, and there was a pen, wasn't there? Let's say this is the way that God has for us. He says, don't go to the left or to your right. Now, if you don't fear God, you're going to fear other things. You're going to go off and be fearful. You're going to be scared. Remember we did Gideon, and the soldiers were scared. The Midianites came. You're going to be scared of other things and circumstances and the dark and barking dogs and what people think about you. You're going to be scared of a whole lot of things rather than fear God. And you can go the other side too. You can be careless. You can go to the right and say, rather than be careful, I don't care if I break God's law. I'll just do what I want. I'll just jump off this high jump without a railing. What does it matter? And next minute you crack your head open or something. You're careless because you don't fear God. Remember, God's commands are to be careful to do what is right and good, and also to have safety in mind and life in mind and care for how you speak. That's the last one we looked at. So that's what we've looked at. Fear God, fearless and careful. They both come together under fearing God. That's the amazing thing. Being careful and fearless happens when we fear God. Now I'm saying fear God, fear God. What does this mean? We've explained it a little bit, but Proverbs 18 verse 10 says something else about it. We think fear God is run away from God, but Proverbs 18 says the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous run into it and they are safe. So fear God is when you say, God is number one and I never want to be alone. I never want to be without God. I never want to be without His power around me. I never want to be out of a place where I worship God, where I obey Him, when I'm in awe and honour of Him, when I'm serving Him, when I'm being His child. Fear God, be trembling in awe at God's power and greatness, respect and obey Him, trust in Him for your life. When He says, turn back, then turn back. When He warns about danger, obey Him. The only safe place is with Him. Well, boys and girls, there's one more important thing about fearing God, and that is you don't just say sorry because you've been caught out. You want to get out of the problem and get back to having fun. Let's look at Judges 10:10. The Ammonites have come along and they've raided the land, and the people of Israel have been caught out serving the Baals, serving false gods, just pursuing their own fun and forgetting about God. And they know they've done the wrong thing, and they are now in big trouble with this army that is there, causing them all sorts of trouble. And the people of Israel, they cried out to the Lord in Judges 10:10, and they say, we have sinned against you because we have forsaken our God and have served the Baals. They admit they did the wrong thing, but they're admitting they did the wrong thing with their head because they're thinking, I hope God does what we want Him to do so we can get back to having fun. That's not fearing God. God reminds them to say, I saved you and I'm supposed to be your God, and I'm not going to get rid of the Ammonites. You can still have them. You just want me to get rid of them so you can go back to having your fun and forgetting about me. And then in verse 15, the people of Israel said to the Lord a second time, and this is the special thing, we read this, we have sinned, do to us whatever seems good to you. That's the fear of, they've humbled themselves now and they say, God, you're the one who makes the right decisions. We tremble in awe and respect and obedience to whatever you do. And then they plead in mercy, only please deliver us this day. And that is our final need. The fear of the Lord's beginning of wisdom. We need to not only just say, God, do good things for me so I can have a positive life. We want to say, God, your will be done in my life. I don't want to go on living and doing whatever I want to do and forgetting about you. I fear you. You are the awesome, great and wonderful God. And please deliver me by Jesus dying on that cross, taking my sins. But I don't just want that so I can go back and keep on doing more sins. I want now to have this new life, your Spirit living in me, to be set free, to be fearing you, to have you with me all the time. I don't want to run from you. I want to run to you. Amen.